Good evening. It is 7:14 p.m. This open meeting of the Grafton Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted both remotely and in person, consistent with the temporary provisions of the open meeting law, which extends remote meeting protocols through March 31st, 2025. This meeting is convening by a Zoom video conference and in person, as posted on the meeting agenda, which can be found on the Town of Grafton website. Please see the meeting agenda for details on how to participate remotely. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Anything you share may be recorded and viewed later. This meeting may feature public comment. Use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Or if you're on the phone, the meeting administrator will allow you to speak. We have no one in person. And all speakers state your name and address prior to any comments. And each vote taken during this meeting will be done by a roll call vote. With that, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Bill McCusker.
Thank you. All right, so this case is, hearing is already closed, so we're just at the point of deliberations. And Dan, I think I'm going to defer to you. I believe at this point we have a draft of a final decision. I think there may have been some commentary offered by the applicant, although it was outside of the public hearing process. So, you know, I think it's at our discretion we want to consider that input or not. Where do we want to go at this point, Dan? Is there anything that you specifically want to have us address, or
Sure. No, so it's up to you folks. There were a few minor proposed edits to the decision that came in last week, I think it was. So it's up to you if you want to consider them. I provided some comments by email to you guys a couple days ago, and on the screen right now is the red line draft. So if you want, I can just show you the proposed changes. I think some of them were okay, and at least one was not. Do you want to go through them, or?
Yeah, I don't know how the if anyone objects, but I think we've had a good working relationship at this point, so I think it's worth taking a look at them unless anyone objects. Yeah, so let's talk through them, Dan.
And
sure, and as I go.
Oh, I just had a few edits and questions on the overall document, but we can hit those.
Yeah, let's get yours afterwards. So let's go ahead to the applicant's red lines.
Okay, so the first one was condition B1I. So it's right here. Actually, I guess this is not redlined, but what they were proposing was a cap on the amount of the escrow of $30,000, but this already has a cap of $20,000. I think the applicant was just misreading the condition. The way this works is that there's an initial deposit of $20,000. It never goes over 20. They're free to deposit more, but they don't have to. And then Katrina draws down from the 20,000. When it gets below 10, then she asks for a replenishment back up to 20,000. So I think the condition addresses the concern the applicant had. So I don't think we need to make any change to this condition.
I agree. I'm just kind of curious what motivated that.
I think our motivation was that we felt at times that it never ends. There's no cap. There's no quote of the terms of the inspections or anything like that. Meaning that it could go up to $100,000 without.
So you were actually proposing a total cap of $30,000.
Yeah. Because we if she says it goes down to 10 grand, we put another 10 grand in, and then it goes down to 10 grand, we put another 10 grand. It goes down to 10 grand, we put another 10. It's an open ender as we see it to a certain degree. I don't think it would be the case in with our relationship, of course, but it just seemed to me it didn't really have an end or a cap necessarily.
I guess I just assume that whatever monies are being spent appropriately. If it, I don't even know what exactly would be considered appropriate or not.
Well, the applicant has to pay for all the peer review and all that.
Yeah, so,
So, I mean, I know I did, so,
yeah, it seems to me that if we're, you know, on some sort of trajectory to spend, you know, $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever, you know, then maybe we need to have that conversation if you feel that we're not using the monies appropriately.
Yeah, I don't think that was necessarily the case. If anything went sour, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
It's just open ended. I mean, if Jeff from Graves is at, I think we've maybe spent 15 grand maybe up at Wheel Rock maybe, and
Yeah.
with it's primarily only Graves Engineering review.
Right.
And I don't think we're gonna do a heck of a lot of tripartites and things like that. It's
Yep.
pretty
Okay.
easy, quite
All right.
honestly. So I'm not, it doesn't have to be capped.
Okay.
I trust the board, but it's just something we normally
Understood.
do. So
Okay.
it's not anything hostile or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I guess in theory, if we wanted Jeff to go out there twice a week.
Stand out there all day. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have any control of it.
Right.
I think that was my point. I don't think that.
But I think you do actually. I would think there's got to be a process if we're, you know, trying to do things that are inappropriate.
yeah.
I don't know, Dan. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. But if we said we wanted Jeff to sit out there all day long, it seems to me that there would be some way. But maybe there isn't.
isn't it spelled out in the subdivision rules?
I don't know.
I think the applicant could always, you know, if the applicant felt it was being mistreated, that there's recourse at the Housing Appeals Committee. But the board really can't put a cap on this because all we have to do is look at a couple other projects in town, such as Fisherville and High Point, and to know that peer review can get actually pretty expensive, but not at the fault of the board, but at the fault of the applicant. So the board should not be hand tied at all in terms of this provision. If it needs to have peer review come back to address recurring problems, not to say that this applicant's going to do it, but permits get transferred. Peter's permit got transferred, right? So permits can be transferred. The next transferee of this permit may not be as diligent as this applicant. So the board needs to have the ability to have peer review.
Yeah, and they are only doing 10 grand at a time. So I mean, again, if we're getting out of hand and just, you know, stop contributing and you know, at that point we need to figure out where we've gone south and deal with it. But okay, I think we're good.
That's fair as well. I mean, would come obviously to the board if it really came to that.
Yeah.
If that was an issue, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Condition C3, the applicant was suggesting that there be written notice provided to the applicant prior to municipal inspections. And this was run by Bob Berger, and he was very much opposed to that as being really too burdensome to have to give written notice every time they go on the site to check things out. It's the standard practice in Grafton apparently is Bob's team or whoever the inspectors are have access to the site whenever they need to. So.
Yeah, I was not comfortable with that from the minute I read it. All right.
Well, normally, the applicant or whoever the builder is, whether it be homeowner or a contractor, they call in for an inspection.
But the words they added actually were written
Yeah,
notice.
but
Yeah.
they request the inspection usually.
Right. No, exactly.
And it's supposed to be done within 48 hours.
Right. Right.
So,
But nobody actually puts it in writing that they want the inspection.
no, not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable with that one either.
We're not opposed to it either. I think it was in the rare chance of anything weird kind of going on that would be notified.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be in written. That one bypassed me. I think it would be assigned at the pre-construction meeting where we assign the manager of the site for emergencies. I think that's where that one was going.
Okay.
Just for insurance reasons, things like that.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
We can handle that one out at the pre-construction meeting.
Okay, then on section C21, the applicant had wanted to add a qualifier that any substantial or material deviations from the preliminary architectural plans would be subject to the zoning board's approval. The way it's written right now is any deviations. from the architectural plans would require zoning board approval. It's right here, this last sentence. And so my response to that was, it really shouldn't be up to the applicant to decide what's substantial or not. There's already a process set out in the regulations. If the applicant wants to make a change to the architectural plans, the applicant would submit that to the building inspector. And if it's really de minimis, I don't think the building inspector would present that to the board. But if it's something that's a close call, that would go to the board to decide if that's substantial, insubstantial, and that's governed by the regs. And if it's insubstantial, then it's approved that night. There's no hearing. It's just a meeting. And if the board determines it's insubstantial, the change is deemed to be incorporated in the design of the project, in the permit. So I don't think we should have. I do not recommend that change to that sentence.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but everything we've been doing are preliminary plans. At some point, they come up with final plans. Don't those have to be reviewed? And I don't know if approved is the right word, but
Yeah,
at the very least,
Yeah,
they have to be reviewed. And do we actually sign off on them, or?
yeah. There's a section back up top that every project we do, we always have an approval process of the final plans.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the applicant, if there's any changes to be made, and maybe there's not, but if there's any changes as a result of these conditions, the applicant makes those changes and submits the final set of plans to the board.
Right. So really, what we're talking about would be a change after those.
Right.
And yeah, I agree with you, Dan.
Of
Go ahead,
course,
yeah.
of course, I look at it the other way. I'm referring to calling out the architectural renderings that I submitted during the submission process to you guys. Of course, Mr. Berger could potentially pick them out, but that's why we made that reference to 1.A, because then those drawings would be a little bit tighter. So I think that's where we were going with that. I mean, the renderings were very renderings proposed this year, that we gave you guys. But when we gave our final set, which we would do to the board, you guys and Berger, I mean, that's where we were going with it. It would be more in line with what we proposed than what we submitted to you guys in that 1.A of the. That's all.
So you're talking about differences between those renderings?
Yeah, the renderings we showed you with the aerials and things like that. Yeah, I mean, they're similar. I mean, they're not perfect. I mean, that's where I was going with that. Because it says preliminary architectural renderings. So renderings are kind of like a pretty picture.
Well, I can change that to plans because the intent was the plans, the plans that you'll be submitting to the board and getting approved. If you make any changes after that, then they require zoning board approval.
Okay.
At the discretion of the building inspector.
Yeah, and I'm still submitting another final set of architectural plans to you guys for approval, anyways. So I guess
Right.
I guess we're covered with that because it's going to be vetted out in that 1.A, anyways. So
I mean, should it be any deviations from the approved plans, or?
Yeah, that's the intent, and it's actually already covered in condition
better.
A10.
which one?
Condition A10 states that any modifications to the site plans shall be subject to the zoning board's review and approval.
Where is it? A10?
Modifications to the site plans required by conditions and waivers shall be subject to the review and approval.
And there's also a modification section here somewhere.
What number?
Section. There's also section K2.
Section A10 talks about
A10?
some change, modifications to the site plans. I mean, I kind of get it, I hate to think that somebody could go back to say, well, this doesn't look like the renderings during the application process. Like, well, yeah, they don't because, we decided to do something different and that was approved of the final plans. So it definitely should be, you know, at least changes to the approved plans. Dan, do you have his red lines? I'm kind of curious. I don't remember exactly what.
Yep.
I didn't really form an opinion on the red lines when I saw him on this one.
Yeah, I thought I left them in here, but I guess I didn't.
Is it a case of go to review and view markup? Are you showing no markup right now?
Possibly. It's really hard to do this with Zoom open. Here we go.
Yeah, you're showing all markup, so you got the wrong one.
Yeah. But I can,
Do you want to just look at mine, Bill? Yeah, do you want this?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah,
He's
maybe that
close.
would help as well.
Yeah, that was.
We got a printed out one here.
Yeah, that was a November 22nd back to Dan. So yeah, it should be highlighted on that one, Bill.
Right.
Should be in red or purple or whatever color it is.
So what they proposed was any substantial and or material deviations. So those are new words: substantial and or material deviations from the rendering shall be subject. And then they added final architectural plans shall be submitted in accordance with condition 1. Wait, is this really what we're talking about? So they added the word substantial and or material deviations from the preliminary architectural rendering shall be subject to ZBA's approval. Okay. And treated as a request for modification as, any substantial.
And what's the last line?
Then the last line is final architectural plans shall be submitted in accordance with condition 1A of this decision.
yeah, A1. Yep.
A1.
A1.
Do we need, on the not marked up version, do we need that last sentence? Any deviations from the preliminary architectural renderings? Isn't that covered already? But because C21 talks about the final and detailed scaled architectural drawings. So once those are approved and accepted, the preliminary architectural renderings are
Absolutely.
meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it does
so-
say final. Yeah.
So we're approving basically a set of preliminary plans in this decision, right? And that's in here. It's under condition A10 says this decision permits the construction of the project in conformity with the following plans. And that includes the architectural plans that were last dated June 7th, 2023. So as of the date of this decision, they have to comply with the June 7th set of plans. And then they have to submit final plans under condition A1. And those plans have to conform to any changes that are required by this decision. So I think we've already got everything covered. Like, I don't think we need to modify the language of C21. That's why I don't think it's necessary. And if he wants to make modifications to it after the decision is rendered and after the plans have been approved, those would come back to the board.
So is this saying any deviations from the preliminary renderings or plans to the final approved plans are subject to approval?
This is, well, first of all, A1 and then I think A10 is really talking about site plans. And A1 talks about calculations, things like that. It's all site stuff. This is, C21 is really talking about the architectural stuff.
Well, A10 is architectural too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, all right, architectural plans. Modification, then it says modification to the site plans required by conditions and waivers. No additional housing units. Doesn't really talk about changes to the architecturals. So
This was
C21
probably
talks-
language that we created for a prior project, and I don't remember which one, but there was probably a concern we had about the design of a building.
Yeah,
and this-
Prentice. Right? I
Could
mean,
be.
we spent a lot of time on Prentice with the way it looked.
Yep. We could take it out. It's probably redundant. We could take out the entire sentence, I think, and be fine.
You're talking about, as Brian said, the last sentence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's covered.
I sense that it is as well. I mean, would that, that would be good with you guys as well, if we just take that sentence out rather than,
Yeah, I think where I was going with this, again, was if I file the full set of architectural real final, which is important, final plans, and I switched a door or a window or a pergola or some type of architectural detail that it doesn't match my kind of pretty pictured rendering I submitted with the set,
right?
then that would have to go back to you and be a modification. That's how I read it.
Yeah, but if we remove that last sentence,
Yeah.
then that goes away, right? Basically, then now C21 just says final plans need to be submitted to the building inspector and fire chief.
But they still have to be his ultimate product. The final plans he submits with the building permit application still have to conform to what the last set of architectural plans were submitted to the board June
Right.
7th.
Yeah,
That's A10.
and that's
So
A10, right?
So if there's any changes, then the board decides if they're substantial or insubstantial.
Yeah.
Or if they're really de minimis, Bob just passes them, and it's not an issue.
Matali has a comment.
Sorry, Dan.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Let's move on. I'm fine.
Yeah, Matali, go ahead.
Oh, no, Dan basically said that I was just saying they're going through the application process. If it's insubstantial, it'll just get pushed through. If it's something that needs to come to the board, then decide. If I understood that correctly.
Okay. By the way,
You understood that?
No.
Wow,
well, I got the gist of it, I think. I think she's
I didn't get anything.
No, I didn't.
So Matali, your audio is really,
Really
not
bad.
good. All right, really bad. But I think you're basically referring to the,
Substantial,
Yeah.
substantial change, yeah.
Basically said everything.
all right.
So you want me to take
I
it
think
out?
what we're deciding here is to remove that, any deviations from the preliminary architecture, remove the last sentence.
Which one's that?
C21.
C21, strike the last sentence.
C21.
Yeah.
C21, the last sentence, and or what you're looking at, Peter.
From any deviations?
Yep.
Yeah.
That, okay,
Yep.
we're striking that.
And then I kind of, then the applicant, I don't think has to be worried about it either. Okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then D2.
This red line one I'm looking at, they struck all of D2, and I don't think that's what got sent over to us.
No.
So they wanted to change within to outside.
Where the first sentence,
Yeah, right here.
instead of within 10 feet, outside 10 feet?
Right.
Within the drip line.
Within a drip line of any tree that is located outside 10 feet from the perimeter of the project.
I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
Does that mean dropping off the furthest branch?
I think so.
So,
Yeah.
so my intent was that I was talking about the drip line that was within 10 feet, not the tree. So I don't know if that was, I think this is fine the way they proposed it, because I think it clarifies that we're talking about a tree that's located outside of the 10-foot, perimeter. That's the intent. The intent is that if there's a drip line within that buffer, that tree should be protected.
No site clearing restoration shall occur within the drip line of any tree that is located outside the So wait a minute. If there's a tree in the middle of the project,
You can't take it down?
you can't take it down and you can't do anything within its drip line. I don't think that's what you want.
It's
I think the wording is off. I think the first line should be within 10 feet, so any tree that's within 10 feet of the perimeter. I
Yeah.
think further down, any tree that is destroyed within the limit of work, I think that needs to be changed to outside the limit of work.
So-
There's two things going on.
Yeah,
I think
probably what it
I think what I
is.
meant to say was it's the tree that's in the buffer, right? So we're not supposed to be taking any tree in the buffer. I
Right.
think what this is saying is that if the drip line extends out of the buffer, that there shouldn't be any excavation within the drip line. So if the drip line is like 20 feet away from the property line, then you're going to create a protective area around that tree. You can't be excavating.
Right, and I think that's best practice for protecting of trees as well, is you really shouldn't be excavating, you know, under the canopy of the tree, I believe, and I'm not an arborist at all, but I think that roughly speaking, that's what they say is, you know, if you
Yep.
want to protect a tree, you shouldn't be excavating underneath its canopy. And, you know, so I think I think within is the right way. I think if you say outside, then you're not gonna be able to build the project.
But I think outside needs to be incorporated later on.
That
That-
was next to
Yeah,
the last
that second
sentence.
to last
Yeah.
sentence. Because it states, any tree that is destroyed within the limit of work area shall be replaced. Obviously, that would be every tree that's,
Yeah, I think
the
that's
project.
where it should
Should
have
be
been
outside.
edited. Yeah.
Within the limit of work area. So what is the limit of work area?
so inside of that, either
Side
tree
buffer.
line, proposed tree line, or proposed erosion control barrier. So anything within the limit of work would be cleared. Anything outside of the limit of work,
Right, so this is saying any tree that is destroyed within the limit of work shall be replaced. So basically if a tree gets destroyed in the buffer, it needs to be replaced. I think that's what we're,
but that's not how I read it.
any tree that is
I'm
destroyed.
50-50. I just said, you know, we have a set of plans that have an area defined that we can clear. So if we're allowed to clear the certain area and excavate it, if I have a tree that's like 5 feet outside that with a drip line of 20 feet going into our property, that's a problem. Get what I mean? I'm not supposed to touch it really. And then the second part, what Travis was saying, well, if I inadvertently destroyed a tree outside the limit on by accident, that I'd have to replace it.
Right,
I think that's what we're getting
the
at.
way
If I go out of the limit of clearing and go into that 10-foot buffer by accident, or something wacky happens with the tree clearer, I need to replace that tree with another caliper, whatever. I thought that's how we were kind of.
This whole thing with the drip line is tough because if this development got put on hold for some reason for
trees
10
grew.
years, or like Fisherville, the first Fisherville was approved in the 80s, way before our time. You could have all kinds of trees.
Yeah, I like the term "don't go outside the limit of clearing" on the plans.
But,
I like a measurement
but-
myself. Yeah.
well, yeah, except that if there's a tree, first of all, I don't even know if that's really, this is, I'm sure this has everything to do with Prentice. Where we really want to protect the trees, particularly along that, I can't think of the name of the road back there. Well, not Elm, but the other, Matthew,
Yeah,
along
Matthew.
Matthew Circle. But look, if you've got a big oak that's within the 10 foot, and you excavate right alongside the 10 foot boundary, and you got an oak that's 5 foot away or something like that, you're gonna kill it. Now,
I know that's the problem. We've never located any of the trees along within the buffer to identify where the drip lines are in this particular case.
yeah,
And we're doing this
They did
buffer
every
for
The neighbor.
Peters Way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And in Prentice, didn't they go through every tree and decide which one was gonna stay,
Absolutely.
and what the drip line was, and,
Bill and I were out there.
yeah, it was very detailed. I mean, it was a smaller project, but we knew exactly what trees were staying and the ones that,
Well, I don't like getting really nitpicky. I don't think it's an issue, but if it does come up, if there's big trees, I don't want.
You know, and maybe,
I'm going to try to save the trees, but if it could have 30, a drip line could extend 30, be out of the limit of clearing and extend 30 feet into my property in a parking lot or something like that.
Right.
That's a problem, technically, how it reads.
yeah. And I don't think the intention is for you to not be able to, I think the intention is to protect the trees, right?
Yeah.
There's no point in having a 10 foot buffer if you're able to do something that kills a tree that's in the buffer.
Yeah.
what's the problem? Let me ask, you've got a tree that's 10 feet outside the limit of work and it has a 30-foot drip line over a parking lot, it's shade. I mean, is the problem just
It's the
construction?
it's
or-
the root.
The
The
root?
roots
Okay,
technically.
'cause it's too
They say
big.
a tree's root structure, where the canopy goes out the farthest extent of the
Yeah, okay.
branches. Technically, the root. They say some trees the roots
Matches.
match that
Yeah,
to a
okay.
certain degree.
Gotcha.
I don't
wish I
think
knew
there's
if
any.
this was a problem.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real nice specimens, anyways, or at Prentice Place especially along Pleasant Street and thing. I don't think it's going to be an issue. So I mean, however you want it phrased, I don't think it's going to be an issue, quite honestly.
So just to clarify, we're talking about a tree that's in the limit of work, right?
Yes,
That has a drip line that extends out,
yes,
that you would have to stay out of the drip line.
yes.
So, is that really a big problem where you have, I mean, I'm just looking at this site plan. Sorry, I can't really navigate well when I'm in Zoom.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what even Chad was kind of saying is it may not really even be an issue.
Because your limit of work is pretty narrow, right? So we're only talking about trees in this 10-foot perimeter.
Right.
And maybe over
Right.
here, might be more of an issue. I mean, this is a 25-foot perimeter.
Yeah.
So I guess
That's where it
if
could
you
be
had-
more of a problem.
And that's
Yeah.
and Dan, that's already the drainage easement.
That's already
so
been dug
yeah,
up
it's already
anyways.
been disturbed. So I don't think on this
Yep.
particular case, other than the ratty trees along Pleasant Street, which they need to come down regardlessly. I mean, it's a disaster. Whatever is remaining out there. So I don't think really it's an issue, quite
right.
honestly.
Then we'll just leave it as
Yeah,
is.
you can leave it as is.
Okay. All right, that's easy.
Next.
All right.
That was the last one, right, Dan?
I think so. Let me just double check.
You can send this back.
D2. Yeah, that was it.
But
Right.
what is the limit of work? Isn't the limit of work everything inside? So if it
That's
says
how I
if you
read it.
destroy any tree
Yeah, I
inside
know,
the
yeah,
limit of
that's-
work, you have to replace every
Yeah.
tree.
You're thinking the limit of work is exactly the opposite of what I'm thinking.
Okay, well that's where.
Yeah.
But wait a minute.
That's what the engineer's thinking. I'm no engineer, you know.
That's how
Good thing it's a
I've always
hayfield, huh?
discussed
Yeah.
it with boards and commissions was the limit of work sets the project limits that you're allowed to go in and disturb.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense to me.
Right.
Right, so that's where he's.
That's where I'm saying if we changed within to outside, so everything outside of what we are proposing to disturb.
Yeah.
If we go
Disturbance
cut a
area.
tree, now, okay, we have to replace two, is how this is written. But if we're saying everything within the limit of work and we cut down 40 trees within the limit of work, expected to
You have
plant
to do
80.
that to build your project.
Right.
Right.
So I guess that's what the
guess it's
definition of
just
limit of work. Are we
You see
considering
Is
it
that
a
defined in
disturbance zone?
You see some of these in different towns as well. Kind of anything you cut down, you need to replace. I mean, I just did it in Newton a few years back. I had to locate every single tree.
Don't
on
give
the
them any
parcel.
ideas.
Exactly.
Well, you have a landscape plan too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
We do.
so,
So, Dan, limit of work is capitalized. That tells me that's defined somewhere.
You'd think so.
yeah, it seems very serious. Importance. Can't understand you, Matali.
Yeah.
Maybe C19.
You're garbled.
Yeah.
B19.
Oh, B19.
No, I think she's saying C19,
Oh, C.
which is where Dan's looking right now.
Yeah. So that references condition D3. Well, that's the open space buffer that we said has a minimum depth of 25 feet. So the minimum 25-foot open space buffer would be the limit of work. They provide that. They have that around the perimeter of the site.
Yeah, look at C19. That's
And then, yeah, back to C19, that just says the limit of work shall be flagged. And then The consulting engineer confirms the flags. And then they're supposed to put a barrier, a plastic fence
Yeah.
along that boundary right here.
So before you went back to C19, I thought I was seeing in D2 something that started to look like a definition of limit of work. So
Yeah,
can
it's
you-
capitalized.
Can you go to D2?
Yep.
And this boundary shall be depicted as a limit of work. All right, so on the approved plan.
The drip line. Yeah, if there's a tree with a drip line that extends over, that's part of the limit of work. So the limit of work default is at least 25 feet. They can make it bigger, and they have actually in the lower section of the site. But the minimum is 25 foot width. And then if you have a tree with a drip line that goes beyond it, then that drip line would also be included within that boundary of the limit of work.
Okay, but as far as what limit of work means, the limit of work is the boundary around the project,
And everything in.
not what's in.
Yeah. Maybe it's a
Isn't
bad
that
term,
the opposite
right?
of what you were saying?
Yeah, I just pulled up a Grafton order of conditions for what it's worth. I don't know if it's makes it any clearer, but construction equipment is prohibited beyond the erosion control barriers and delineated limit of work. Beyond the limit of work.
Beyond, so it sounds like we're using limit of work.
What's, where you can work.
Yeah.
Is the disturbance area.
Yeah,
Is
where
the
you're
limit of work,
you're
like-
constructing.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going with the outside thing.
Yeah, that's where,
That's
was
where our
going with
work is
outside, he
limited
meant to
to,
put
is
it
that
down there.
area is how
That
I
makes
read it.
sense.
Yeah.
We could change the term to buffer.
Well, no, I think these words around here are all, the limit of work is essentially inside the project.
Because read the last line of C19. That's saying that any tree within the boundary limit of work shall not be touched during construction.
And that's not right.
That
So
doesn't make sense.
Right. I think that's the key, is I think C19 is just, we just need to change, and even if it's not a big deal here, maybe the next time we copy this somewhere.
Yeah, outside the limit of work.
Yeah.
Vegetation outside the limit of work.
Okay, I think again it's confusing because we're talking about a buffer, right? And so the limit of work is like the boundary of the buffer in a sense. It's a limit. So it might be more clear to call this something completely different. like the perimeter buffer.
I don't know, Dan. Just seeing where it's used in D2 and other places, D2 and D3, I think the limit of work is clear.
It's a line.
Well, it's a line, but
Yep.
I think the intention is that it's where, work occurs inside the limit of work, buffer occurs outside the limit of work. And with that in mind, that C19, that last sentence where it says inside, should be outside. Yeah, go ahead.
Just conservation specific wording, which they did have us, change on this plan, they call it limit of disturbance.
Yeah.
So maybe that's more clear than work.
But it's the same thing though, right?
That's still inside.
Yeah.
Is how.
The disturbance
Big
happens
view.
inside,
Yeah, right.
buffering, no disturbance happens outside.
Yeah.
What if I
just-
just put in parentheses the buffer, the perimeter buffer?
Sure. But I see you changed inside to outside there too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
I think that's, yeah.
Is that the only confusing part, or was there another?
Well,
D2.
D2, the next to the last sentence. Should that
Yeah, right.
say,
So any beyond
It's fine.
Yep, beyond or outside, I think.
Yeah, outside, we've been using inside and outside. I think it should be, any tree that is destroyed outside the limit of work area shall be replaced with new trees of comparable species.
So within
How about-
replaced by with outside?
Yep.
how about that? I.e. in the perimeter buffer.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that helps, definitely helps.
All right, we're getting somewhere.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, that works well because then I can still go to the building inspector or the tree warden. If I have a dead tree in this buffer, at least I can go to him and say I'd like to cut
Absolutely.
it. Cut it down. It's obviously going to fall onto my building, so
Yep.
that works well.
Okay. So the only change, well, I made those changes, and we're going to take out this last sentence here in C21.
Yep.
So I can just create a final version here, and I can send it to Amber, and she can print it, right?
Yeah, Brian had, but we're not done yet. Brian had some comments, and I don't know if anyone else has any comments on this. So, you're up.
All right. So on page 1, there's a comments from Graves Engineering in the last paragraph, dated May 17th, July 19th, September 20th. Wasn't there another letter after that from Graves? I thought there was one in October.
Like this one is dated October 25th.
Yeah.
Let me just check.
Reserve at Pleasant Commons. That's this one, yeah. Okay. Yeah, there definitely is.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. I don't think it just was inserted from the last meeting.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I think so.
Do you have the date? Because I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's October. I have it in my hands, Dan. It's October 25th, and it was stamped in on October 25th.
Okay.
So, on page 3, section 3, I guess the second paragraph down, it says, let's see, that's the second paragraph. Through that endorsement process, the applicant signed a memorandum of agreement dated September 13th, select board, under which it agreed to perform certain tasks and assume obligations. So they have to comply with this memo. Should that be attached and incorporated? So you don't have to go track that down as a separate document?
You could. I mean, this document gets recorded at the registry, so it's not necessary to attach it. And it might just kind of confuse people who read this after and say, wait a second, what is this other document? It might create more of a cloud on the title than is necessary, but I've certainly seen exhibits attached to 40B permits before, so it's not unheard of.
I don't know. Anyone else has?
Wait, it's pretty important, right? There's some. I mean, we've included some of the important things in here. Certainly like ratios and things like that are actually explicitly documented. But there's other important things. There's some cash payments and things like that. It sure seems like that should be. I guess we just want to make sure it's something that doesn't get lost. I mean, is that memorandum of agreement recorded, Dan?
I don't think so. Right now, I don't.
Yeah, but there's a LIP process. Certainly, that was part of the LIP I mean, there's the state. The LIP program had to get approved. The LIP thing had to get approved by the state, right?
Right.
And that memorandum of agreement should have been part of that, I assume.
I mean, it is part of the application.
Right.
It's in the binder.
Oh,
Right.
that's a good point too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Can't we include the whole Saltman's deal in this somewhere?
The whole what?
Their deal.
That's the memorandum.
That's the memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, but
Of agreement.
it's not written down. Where's it written down?
Well,
I don't even know if we ever got it.
yeah, it's in the application.
It's in the,
Okay.
it's in the binder.
Section
Yeah.
1.2 and 1.3.
Yeah, it's in the binder. I think we're good. I think we're good. It's part of the application, so it's. is preserved.
And the money was definitely in here somewhere. I don't know where
Yeah,
it was.
I definitely saw that.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah.
Oh, J. 26, okay. Oh, yeah, there it is.
All right, so page 8, there's hours of construction. It says in section H1, it says Saturday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that conflicts with page 11, which says 7 a.m. on Saturdays. I'm not sure which one. I remember talking about it. I don't know where.
I thought it was 8 a.m. on Saturday.
Where's the
So
confliction?
C7
C7.
is
Oh, C7.
different than H1 under
Yeah.
B, under submission requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to change, do you want to make it 7?
No, I think make it 8 on Saturdays. Is
Yeah.
Is
that,
that,
I think that's what we had talked through previously.
is that right, Chad? Did we say 8 on Saturday?
I'm always gonna want 7, but
Yeah.
We're just thinking.
I
of
gotta be
8
honest.
for-
I'll give you one. I think the 8. So
I think we did
I think
say
we did it
eight.
on
yeah, we did say 8.
Yeah, I
was
think
the
it should be
honest
8.
response.
I really do.
I think Bill said people give the little people to sleep in
Like
a
an
little
hour,
on.
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause
I
it's
think
Saturday.
that was discussed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Okay.
So C7, we want to change the 7s to 8
On Saturday.
Saturdays.
on
and
Saturdays,
holidays.
yeah.
Or no
Yeah,
holidays.
yeah. I mean, where does it even talk about? Oh, on Saturdays, there, that's really limited.
So we should change this to 8 as well, this reference.
Where are you?
This sentence here, do you see my cursor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that also said 7 on Saturday, they just changed it to 8.
8.
yeah, okay. Materials and equipment deliveries may only occur between 7 and 5, yeah, okay. Yep.
All right. So this is more a logistical thing, but the construction management plan. So that has to be reviewed by the ZBA.
Yep.
And we have to issue a decision within 30 days. But just generally, what's the timing of that? Like after approval, how soon will that occur? That meeting?
I think at Wheel Rock we had a pre-construction meeting with all the members. I think Katrina and a lot of boards in town that wanted to attend the pre-construction. And then, because I submit this CMP plan at that meeting, and we kind of go over it or explain it in more detail. And then I think it must, from Katrina there, might have went to you guys for approval. I don't remember going to a meeting, but I think she might have just submitted it to you guys, and I think we were off to the races.
So this says we have to issue a decision, which means I believe we have to vote. So I think it would just make sense to have some plan of this so that we can get a meeting on the books, so that you're not waiting, or we don't have to scramble to have a meeting to approve this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but, yeah, I don't think it's something that should get submitted until they're ready to break ground. Right, I think it's gonna be up into that time frame.
Yeah.
And I don't think he knows that at this point.
No.
No, and I'm saying more just generally, and you know, maybe you give us a heads up 60 days in advance so we can put something on the calendar.
Yeah.
I just hate to see the logistics of us having a meeting delayed stuff.
Is this new, or have we ever approved one of these before? I don't remember for High Point or,
I think we put this in because there were
the condos, Pulte's condos, or?
because there's a bunch of stuff that has to be completed prior to. I think it's that final check to make sure that all this stuff is completed.
Well, all right. So to Peter's point, we the last few have definitely have it and have had a construction management plan, and I wouldn't be surprised if they all have.
Okay.
I think that's something that's standard, like coming out of the planning department, right? So
And maybe we weren't involved with it, or?
So I know that for Fisherville and Prentice, I shouldn't say no. I'm pretty sure that for Fisherville and Prentice, I went to a meeting or participated in a meeting.
Okay.
I know for both of those. I participated in a meeting. It was the pre-construction meeting. And as Chad just said, I think part of that pre-construction meeting was going through the construction management plan. Now, this idea that we need to approve it, I don't remember necessarily doing that. I don't know that we did that or not. I just don't know. I know it was submitted to us. I know we got a copy of it. Maybe we did. I
Okay.
can't remember.
I was missing for a couple of years there, so.
That's true, you were.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, that's why I don't know about those.
But basically, you guys are going to be ready to go after that meeting.
Well, here would probably be the process. When I'm probably ready to go and I have my CMP, I'd probably submit it to Katrina. Give her advance, because we want to have a meeting. So that's going to take me 2 weeks. So you're going to have 2 weeks in advance. You'd have 50 days probably to do that.
Yeah.
So I'd give her the heads up, 20 days. I mean, can we get a meeting with, Bob and the police department within the next 2 weeks, at the office? And then I'd go over through the CMP, and then the police usually says, yeah, I don't want you guys parking on the road and this, that, and we kind of work out some of the details. I fine tune it, and then I kind of submit it back to Katrina. I just don't remember coming forth in front of you, but it maybe when I announce who I am, maybe to you guys, it's very possible, because I took it over from Peter, so I might have introduced myself, and we might have approved the CMP plan after I met everybody in town. I think that's what happened. My recollection, and this is boilerplate. Looks like Wheel Rock, so you must be doing this at most of the sites.
Yeah, I think the language is boilerplate. I think it's, I just, the only piece that I don't remember doing for either Prentice or for Fisherville, and who knows what language was in Fisherville, because that was written, a decade ago, but I don't remember actually doing any sort of approval for either of those. So, I'm not concerned about the timing.
Okay.
I'm not concerned about the timing.
In C11, Dan, talks about roadways being accepted as public ways.
Ooh.
I think that can all be stricken.
Wait a minute, C11? Oh, until the roadways have been accepted.
Oh, right. That's good. Yep. Well, what? I mean, should we leave the first part in and just take this out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So where are we stopping it, right after construction?
And this should really say driveway, right? Because it's not a road. They're not building a road. They're building a driveway.
Yeah.
Oh, driveways. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good.
D9. The last sentence of that is a wording thing. Constructed and planted before issuance of the first certificate of occupancy.
Say that
Yeah.
again?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's saying it planted before the first certificate of occupancy in a project. Well, what about the first certificate? So I think he's saying before the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy?
Yep.
Yep. Good.
Page 20. Item C, like halfway down the page. So this is talking about the lottery, like who's eligible or preferred or whatever. Employees of local businesses, and then employees or businesses located in the municipality. I don't know what that means. Employees of what? Or employees of businesses, maybe?
Well, or employees of the municipality would be an intent, I think.
Maybe it's supposed
That's
to
up above.
be employees
Oh, yeah.
of businesses located in the municipality.
Right.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
I-
kind of redundant?
Instead of
I-
or. I think that's what it is.
I have no idea what this must have been a typo and just never got corrected.
I mean, it's kind of redundant. It says the same thing, doesn't it?
So is it just a
Shouldn't
case
it-
of striking the employees or businesses
Yeah,
words?
just
Just so-
employees of
yeah.
local
Yeah.
businesses.
The way he's got it written makes sense.
Good. Okay.
Do you even need the local? I mean, as long as we're tweaking it,
Employees
like, businesses located in the municipality.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
And by the way, is municipality is somewhere that's clear that the municipality is Grafton?
Grafton, the town of Grafton.
Should I just say employees of
Grafton?
businesses located in
The town of
Grafton?
Grafton.
All right, so then on page 22, H1C. This is more a logistical question. So this is saying that if the applicant determines that based on the weather or season, whatever, that plantings can't be done until the next season, I think, that they'll post a bond of 1.5 times the expected cost of the plantings. How is this ever monitored? Like, unless you brought it to us, this would fall by the
I
wayside.
think Graves does.
Wait, what specifically are you worried about?
Like if
About,
the
say
weather doesn't allow
they
them
determine that they
to
can't
plant grass
plant
or
stuff until
Yeah,
the
the
next,
spring.
yeah,
This basically requires them to post a bond.
yeah.
But they'd have to basically come to us and say, here's the bond that I owe for
Well,
this.
well, hopefully, Bob says, I can't give you the occupancy permit because you haven't planted grass.
Right.
So then they say, well, we can't because it's the middle of winter, okay? Then you need to, the permit allows for that, you need to present a bond.
and then they'll,
So essentially, it's
I think it's good
Bob's
in,
one.
no, I think it's good in theory. I think logistically, I would be
Well, they're
shocked
gonna
if this
do
was
the-
ever.
they're gonna do the
you know,
work.
Probably not. It's probably more of a logistical nightmare for Bob.
Probably, but
And you're gonna do the work because you want your bond.
Yeah,
Back,
yeah.
so-
I mean, it's yeah.
They're gonna want their money back, so they'll,
Well, no, I'm just saying that I don't think, and I don't think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do it.
Problem,
I mean, Bob doesn't do it for single-family homes. It's
Yeah.
that you know, it's not in the building code to have an arborvitae planted in your front yard.
Right.
So he,
24. I've seen this in other decisions. I have no idea what it means. Rags on brick shelf.
where?
I-6.
On I6, yeah.
Rags on.
Signs
brick-
of surcharging. and sewer manholes?
Yes. People like to, certain people like to flush rags down the toilets, believe it or not, and that enters the sewer systems.
What's a brick shelf?
A brick shelf is a part of the manhole
Yeah.
where the sewer goes. Yeah, so it's a technical wastewater term.
Believe it or not.
And
sound
I
very
Googled this
technical,
today, and
Yeah, I don't.
nothing. So I figured it was some term of art.
No,
Never.
no.
The bottom of a sewer manhole is
Yeah.
like a little trench.
Yep.
And it's usually like 6 inches lower than the shelf on either side of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a half a pipe going through the bottom,
That was
but it's made of brick.
curiosity.
Yeah, made of brick. Yeah.
Yeah, this condition came out of the Prentice decision.
Wow.
So the expiration date on page 26, L, the bottom.
Yep.
If construction of roadways, which I'd say driveways,
Yep.
authorized by this permit has not begun within 36 months, the permit lapse, or shall lapse. Why is it the construction of the driveways in this case?
It doesn't have to be.
Versus-
It could be, it could be the start of construction. It could be foundations. I mean, I think in a prior permit we thought that the road. To be honest, I don't remember where this condition came from, which project, but it was. For that project, we thought that the roadway construction was the appropriate time by which the permit should be exercised. But in this case, maybe a foundation permit. It's really your call, but there should be some kind of event that has to happen within 36 months.
You know, I don't think the goal is to prevent the project to prevent the project from being built, right? We've got a lot invested at this point. So I think that, they should have something going within 36 months. And then, the reality is, and we learned this at Fisherville, if they don't, right, so the economy goes in a dumper and they can't build anything for, just doesn't make sense. So, we don't want to throw the permit away, so to speak. So then they come to us and ask for extension, which is what Fisherville did, right? I mean,
Right.
So I don't know. I'm okay. I don't want to say, look, you need to have something done. You need to finish this thing in 3 years.
Oh, I'm not saying finished.
if-
I'm just
even-
saying is construction of
Road.
driveways or whatever
Yeah.
the right thing here, or is it
Foundation.
or some
Or
And-
something
and I
else,
mean-
some other?
I guess maybe this is part of your concern is what does that actually mean? Construction of roadways. I mean, it kind of we've already got a little bit of a road going in there right now. Is that enough? What is actually construction of roadways? So maybe it is foundation plan. Maybe it is a foundation permit.
Or
So in that case, it really would be structures. If construction of a structure authorized by this permit, because a foundation permit is for a structure.
sure.
Would it be less ambiguous if we just said
Construction?
a permit of some sort? They've
Construction
received a permit of some sort, whatever it may be?
You don't need a permit to bulldoze loom.
Right.
So, but the first thing you do is strip the loom off it to build the road, build the parking lots.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think we're saying that, construction of roadways, what does that really mean, construction of roadways? If they just run a bulldozer down through the middle of the
Yeah.
property, is that the construction, is that construction of roadways?
I don't think so.
But what is it?
It's running a bulldozer down the middle of a field.
No,
It's not
but I
making
mean,
a roadway.
what is construction of roadways? At what point does that running the bulldozer down to become actually construction of roadways?
To me, the first time you drop that blade and you start pushing dirt. you're building the roadway.
Okay, so then that's running the bulldozer
I
down the
mean,
middle.
that's my,
Yeah,
So they could just, every 3 years, pull a bulldozer up and.
no, they
No, I'm not saying
would
it's
come
gonna-
in and ask for
but-
an extension, cause
Right.
we used to have to do it all the time with High Points, 20 years.
What? So I would say issuance of a
Construction
Permit.
permit?
you know, something like that, you know, if we're gonna have something like that, I think it should be something that's not,
Just a bulldozer going on.
that's less ambiguous, and I think pulling a permit would be appropriate.
I would actually suggest something a little bit more stronger, that construction start of a structure, because a permit could be pulled and not exercised.
Right,
So I think it's actually better to say, if construction of a structure authorized by this permit has not begun. And again, you know, if they pull a building permit but they don't start, such as what I think we saw at Pine Street, you know, then they come back to you. They always can come back for extensions.
I'm okay with that language.
The board can't really deny extensions if there's a good cause for them. So, but you want some flex. You want to have a hammer so that if you need to, you have something that we can shut this down if it becomes a problem.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
At certain times, I think in special permits in some of my jobs or some of the other projects I've taken over, you know, I have had to get something actually to start work. So I had to get something from the town. So if I cleared the trees and started grubbing, I got authorized, you know, by the local planning board that I started the job, you know, started the job. That would exercise the permit, that the permit has actually begun. Not so much expired, but I actually did something and it's an active construction site. You know, Dan, you probably saw stuff like that as well, right? When permits are about to expire, that, you know, obviously, if you start to clear the trees or grub the land, then indeed the, you know, project has started. Does that help anything in this particular case?
Well, I think it's a little more ambiguous, and I think that's what we're trying to avoid, right? We're looking for an overt act, you know, as they might say in criminal law. You know, we want to see we want to see something that's very clearly defined. You know, going out there with chainsaws. I mean, anyone can go out there and start clearing trees or taking a bulldozer down the path. So.
But one thing I see is like Bob Berger won't issue foundation permits because of fire department access till there's gravel roads in there. There could be 6 months of work that we're in there doing before we're even able to get a foundation permit, you know.
Asphalt has to be down.
Well, I think 95% gravel, but yeah, unless graft. Yeah.
No,
But you know, so I think the reality is this: if you know, if it's 2.5 years before you really now can get going, right, for whatever reason. So now you find that you've started to do that sort of work, and you're up against, you know, we need to start getting, you know, nails into wood, you know, in the next 6 months, and you know, we've got to get Bob happy with the roads before we can get the permits, to get the foundations. You know, you come to us and you say, can we have another year?
Right.
So I think the only thing we're trying to do here is just make it clear, a little bit less ambiguous as to what the criteria is. And as Dan said before, it's not about Eastland. It's about maybe who you may sell this to or who may come along next. It's, you know, let's just have it clear what it is that's necessary. So I think I'm okay with that language that Dan has there.
Then just a couple small things in the waivers, page 28, number 4. Just the wording of the request, waiver to allow less a separation distance.
Doesn't make sense.
I think it's supposed to be a separation of less than 20 feet.
Yeah, the less should be after.
Yep. Good.
Number 6 should be multi-family dwelling.
Swell.
It's funny when you read those, you just scan right over them.
Editing.
I read these too. I was like, yeah.
He's a good proofreader.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Oh, great.
I sat down and shut my computer off and read through it. So number 24 on page 33. So number 23 approves the use of HDPE pipe. Number 24, and Peter probably knows the answer to this, so allows 2 feet of cover for those. Is the 2 feet only allowed if it's HDPE pipe? Like, does it have to be 4 feet if it's something else?
Usually they want, what, 4 feet?
For the environment.
Yeah.
So should it say that, should number 24 say 2 feet of cover for HDPE drain pipes?
Probably.
I don't know that
Probably.
Well, wait, hang on a second. If they use,
Jeff commented on that, because I even asked him if 2 feet was okay. I mean, that's getting a little
and Jeff said
tight.
okay, but I think where Brian's headed is, if they use something other than HDPE,
But I mean, if they use concrete, it
2
would.
feet is okay.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
And is there something else, they can't
Yeah.
use
I mean,
balsa wood or something,
Yeah.
and that's really only 2
right.
No, exactly. This stems from quite a few years ago. Class 4 concrete pipe needs 4 feet of cover. When you switch to a Class 5 concrete pipe, it has more reinforced rebar in it, where you can then get 2 feet.
All right.
Yeah, so that's where this came from. And the HDPE is a structural pipe, so it's really like a Class 5. So that's where you can get away with the 2 feet.
But
It's
you
just
can buy-
it's old construction language, probably from the 40s and 50s, just to keep carrying on for another 100 years.
You can buy a cheaper plastic, though, without the inner liner.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you can buy it that big, though. Probably not that size, but
So
Which
so
you
it
wouldn't want.
can support large concrete trucks being 2 feet instead of using the earth as 4 feet. It's just a heavy duty pipe.
So I guess my thing was, does the 2 feet only relate to that pipe that's allowed in number 23? Or is that across the board? For
I
any?
think it's across.
Yeah,
the board.
it's across the
Okay.
board. It's that HDPE.
Yeah,
Totally
and I mean, it's your problem
yeah,
to
yeah,
deal with in any event.
yeah.
I think we covered that. Yeah, I think that's it.
Great.
Other comments from anyone?
I've got one, and Dan, you brought this up at the last meeting. You probably wish you hadn't now, but it all relates to, and I wasn't part of Prentice Place, so I wouldn't know. And we never talked about the footage requirement. You mentioned 3,500 feet per unit. And that was,
Open space, yeah.
and that,
5,500, I think.
and that was, well, I think it was 5,500, but the board settled on 3,500 for Prentice Place, and that was upheld by the state. So,
It was a settlement.
so how it could relate to here, I mean, I'm assuming that this 3,500 is part of our ZBA's rules now, or what gets confusing in this particular case is the donated land. If we use the donated land in the calculation, I imagine everything is okay. If we don't use the donated land, I think they lose 8 or 9 units.
I think Peter's talking about number 13, I think.
Is that what, that's what I was trying to find it.
What? We have it in here?
I think number 13. Well, no, this is the one that deals with it. I don't know that it addresses your question, but that's the one that a lot more than. Oh no, that's not it. It was per unit, right? Is that the
I
thing you're
had
talking about?
never heard this before until the last meeting. You weren't here, Bill. You had to watch it on tape, I think.
Right, I did.
And like I say, and to me, it's
here
all of your interpretation of what the to-be donated land is. I mean, it's been leveraged once with the selectmen to get their blessing. How many times can you leverage it?
No, it's not 13.
Well, there's so waiver number 13 deals with a water supply protection district, and that's different from the multifamily housing
Yeah.
bylaw.
Yep.
And at Prentice, we were using the multifamily housing bylaw standards as a way to really reduce the density of that project. That's also the standards that I raised at the Upton Street meeting a couple weeks ago.
Right, yep.
So,
So
I
how
don't
does
think-
how does it relate to this case? I mean, I'm not, and it might be too late to enter that into this case. I don't know, but because we are right at the end.
yeah, I don't think they applied. Oh, here it is. Yeah, right here, number 10. There-
that's-
so, right. So they asked for a waiver from this 5221 is the multifamily housing district. That requires 5,500 square feet of land for each dwelling. And you voted to allow the waiver in this case.
Okay, but does ZBA have a rule on this?
We don't,
We don't.
no. I mean, we may have some precedent,
Right, that's what
not
I'm,
necessarily a rule, but we may have some precedent, but,
well, the only precedent we would have would be Prentice Place,
yeah,
which I wasn't there, so.
right. Well, I mean, I don't know if it would only be precedent.
All I'm trying to do with my questions is, I'm not trying to take units away, because just the donated land to be is a big factor in this, and I'm sure if we took 8 units away and they went to, is it Hack?
Yeah.
They would overrule us, so,
Yeah,
but this might come down the road in the future.
is the 7.7 acres that's mentioned here, that's not including the donated land?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
all right. So what we have said here is, we have basically said that we will allow a ratio, not 5,500 square feet, but some number that's less than that. And I don't know if anyone's able to do the calculation to tell us what what that is. But we basically said we'd allow, you know, let's say it's a ratio of 3,500. I'm just pulling that out of the air.
Well, I had never.
And your concern is that.
I had never heard of the 3,500 before Dan mentioned it at the Upton Street thing.
Yep.
That's, I mean, I was here when we went over this waiver, so,
Yeah, but I think you're concerned that let's, you know, whatever number this is, that somebody else comes along and says, well, you allowed that number.
there you go.
So I have to be honest with you. I've kind of objected from the very beginning when we had public bringing this up. As far as I'm concerned, this project is not 7.7 acres. It's the full number, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, you can walk out of here right now, and say, I don't want your permit, and turn around and come back in using all of that land,
That's correct.
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Well, but not with selectmen's approval, and I don't know what that would get them. I mean,
but,
that's another
all the
question in
selectmen
itself.
have done is they've approved, you know, take this big piece of land, 15 acres, whatever it is, and they've approved doing something with it.
Right.
Happens to be that part of it's going to get donated, but still, it's this big piece of land. Bottom line is, they got this big piece of land, and they're going to put 104 units on it. The fact that half of it isn't buildable or whatever doesn't really matter. It's, you know, they've got this open space, they've got this, you know, or this, you know, that's the ratio. And the more I think about it, I almost feel like number 10 should be changed. And it has everything to do with what Peter says. You know, I'm a little concerned that, yeah, there is another project coming down the line, and I don't want them pointing at this, saying, hey, you did it there, why can't you do it somewhere else?
What if we
Yeah, but
mention that the donated land, or make this more, say something about the donated land, or we don't have 3,500 in here. Somebody's gonna have to figure out
Or
what does
use
that
the-
mean.
But that'll be easy enough to do.
I know, well, I know, but maybe we need to know what that means. I don't know.
Or you, instead of using 7.7, use whatever the
12.
Total.
If we use
Yeah.
the total acreage and divide it by 104, I don't know what we do have an
bet you don't
engineer
need
in the room, so he
The
knows how to.
15
have the
acres,
plan.
what's the total acre?
Yeah.
Is that the plan
Yeah,
right
how
there?
many square feet is it?
Look at
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have that inscribed on your arm
No,
someplace.
there's just too many of them.
Divided by 104. Yeah, so it would be just under 5,200 square feet per unit with the total, with the 12.4.
You know, now that you say that, I think that came up when we were going over this waiver. But I had never heard the 3,500 before. And Dan made it sound like that was a rule of since
Oh, it's a
Prentice
rule,
Place.
that might have been the number. And I think whatever number we were using at Prentice Place was, you know, was we were driving at a different outcome. Okay, we were concerned about other things. If we needed to reduce the number of units, then we needed to reduce the, you know, if we need to reduce the number of units just to get him to the table to talk about other things, and you know, so it's all part of the big process, right? I don't think we,
Right.
you know, had any allegiance to that particular number.
And further, when you look at units per acre, we're less dense than Prentice Place, even without the donated land. So if you just take the 7.7 acre parcel, that gives you 13.5 units per acre. Prentice Place was at 16. So you're still, even without our extra open space, which is a great asset and is something that will be used by the community, you're still less dense than another project that you've approved. So I don't think this is, you know, setting some sort of precedent for crazy density when.
Yeah, so what
Prentice
you're
Place.
saying is that if somebody's gonna look at precedent, they're gonna point to Prentice Place.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's a good piece to know.
Right.
what was the math on, so it was 5,200 on the full,
Right.
and what about on the
And the other
7.7?
one was 3250. Right.
3225.
Yeah, 3225.
I still, you know what, somebody can turn around and say, hey, you did it at Prentice Place, you did it at Pleasant Street, you did it, you know, I don't know, it's probably a similar number for Upton, because that's where this came up. You know, I'd rather be able to, you know, somebody let them point at Prentice Street, but then say, well, we didn't do it at Upton, and we didn't do it on Pleasant Street. I would like to see this number changed. I really would. I'd like to see us use the whole thing.
I think that protects you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mean the total acreage?
Yeah, use the total acreage right here. Dan, you get where we're headed here?
I do. I think just to play devil's advocate on the total acreage issue, I mean, the total acreage is not available for the project because they signed a contract with the town to donate the open space. So I think there's a little bit of a distinction, and you know, as Peter said, I mean, it's the reason they're here is because they got the lip endorsement by the Board of Selectmen. If they didn't donate the land, they may not have gotten the lip endorsement.
But they
I
still
think
could
there
be
was a
here.
way-
Here without the lip
But
endorsement.
they could be here without the lip endorsement.
They could, but they'd have to get another project eligibility letter from Mass Housing, and it's a different process. So we don't know what would have happened in that process.
Right, but also they could have, you know, come up with a different number to donate. You know, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that this is what they started with was 12 point whatever acres. And this is what they came up with, the fact that along the way, part of it was an agreement with the Board of Selectmen to donate it. I think that's just part of the whole process.
Yeah, but I think if we're looking at the zoning bylaw requires 5,000 square feet of land per dwelling unit on the development track. And the open space is not going to be part of the development track. It's going to be conveyed out. Like if that was part of the project, I would say, yeah, that would make sense. But I thought that the agreement was that they were going to transfer title to that land, right, to the town.
They are, Dan, but so why not? Despite what you're saying, why not just have it, what's the downside of having this at 12 point?
It doesn't really matter. I'm
Let's do
just
it.
giving the devil's advocate view.
Because I
It's
think
not
it will, I think it will matter in the future.
I'm not as worried about precedent in these decisions because there's plenty of case law that says that boards don't set precedents by its decisions. I mean, it's, we use the word precedent probably too liberally. It's not, no case sets precedent. Every case has different facts and different needs. Prentice had a specific need.
Right, 'cause it was so small. Yeah.
You know,
That-
the
I mean-
reason I raised it for Upton is because I saw a potential relevancy to it.
But
It's up to you.
I'm going to disagree strongly with you, Dan. We had a case right here in town where our planning board had essentially lost a case in court, and the judge threw in their face precedent. You guys did this here and here and here. Threw that right in their face and said, you can't, without any justification, arbitrarily apply this standard over here because you didn't do it here, here, and here. So
Okay, but that's different though, Bill, because that in that case, I don't know what the case is, but I've seen case law just like that, where a board doesn't have a rational basis for imposing conditions or denying a project. But that wouldn't be the case here because we've thought very deliberately about all these conditions and waiver denials. So if you have a decision that's well crafted and based upon rational factors, and you've justified your conditions and your waiver decisions, you should not be criticized by a judge if a judge says, well, you granted that waiver somewhere else. Why didn't you grant it here? If you have a good reason for not granting the waiver here, it should be upheld. And the appeals court and the SJC would agree with you. It's only when towns just arbitrarily treat a similarly situated project differently.
But, I think if there's really no downside, I think we would be in a better position, to have it say 12 point whatever acres. And if there's no downside to it, I think we should put it there because, we already know what has come to the select board and what the select board has approved. And, there may be some concern about, that level of density again, as there was in Prentice Place. So
Actually, though, what if what if we said in the whatever that third decision column, say allowed, and the board considered the full size of the parcel or whatever.
I like
the
that.
wording is.
Allowed, but add some language that the board,
Included the land that was donated. Clay has.
Yeah, Clay, I'm sorry.
He's had his hand up.
And I think Bill has. Bill, have you had your hand up or are you just stretching?
And Matali had her hand up too.
Yeah, mine will be pretty quick.
All right, go ahead, Clay.
So if you look at our memorandum of agreement from the select board, one of the conditions was that the total parcel could be counted for our zoning calculations because, it is part of the whole project. So whether it's right or wrong.
Thank you. We should have let him speak earlier.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt, but,
I think you
It's
actually.
nice of the selectmen to
you
say
mentioned
that, but
to
they
me
don't
way
have the
back
authority.
at the very first.
I have, but,
Yeah.
that is in there, so, for what it's worth.
Matali, you want to say something and hopefully we can hear you?
Hope you can hear me.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try talking louder. So if we keep the 7.7 acres development parcel and then say of the 12 point whatever acres of land, and then
We lost you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I was just saying maybe we can say 7.7 acres of development parcel parentheses. 12 point whatever acres of say project parcel. Yeah, exactly.
Matali, maybe you can
Type of chat or something.
put it into chat. I was just gonna say, this is Zoom. Does Zoom have chat? It must have chat.
Yeah.
Guys,
Maybe you can type that into the chat.
Yeah. And Amber could.
Bill Yeomans, I'm not sure if you were raising your hand or you're just stretching your hand.
Well, he has a raised hand reaction.
No, you're on mute.
And you're muted too.
Oh, just listening.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I just added a parentheses here. Does that help?
Track consists of 12.51 acres.
I like Brian's idea of putting that over in the allowed as if to say that we allowed it because we considered the fact that the full track is 12.51 acres. Yeah,
I think I kinda like that too.
yeah. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Anyone else have any comments? Peter, you all set?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
All right, I have one. And it has to do with page 18, Public Safety and Fire Protection, F5. So we've got the thing, I guess it's a condition. No building permit for a building in the project shall be issued until the base and binder coat of pavement for the portion of the driveway serving the building has been installed. And I know why that's there. I would like to add, I'd like to add some language that would allow the ZBA to override that requirement. I can envision a situation where we may want the applicant to get the building permit sooner than that. And I'd like to have the discretion to do it. I just would like to have the discretion to do it. What do you think, Dan?
Yep, I hear you.
Gravel base at
No, I just
pavement level?
No, I think leave all of that, but just give us the discretion to grant a permit, to allow him to have the permit.
Or could we just add at the end, like without prior authorization of the ZBA?
I think he's adding it. I think Dan knows exactly where I'm headed here.
Well, do you want to leave it to the building commissioner's authority or?
No.
No, I
He's
think
the
it should
one
be
who-
us. I think it should be us. And I knowing Bob, he wouldn't want it anyways.
No, he would do it anyway, like the apprentice.
We had talked,
We had this and it got issued without any, without that done.
we had talked about this quite a while ago, so I'm glad it came back.
Yeah, Bob has the power to issue a foundation only also, without a binder in place.
I don't know if
Is that clear that he does have that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
He did it.
I'm 100% clear on that.
That doesn't
and
mean-
if it gets into a fire issue, that would stop Bob from doing that. That the access around that foundation just needs to be compacted gravel to actually hold the fire truck. So it doesn't have to be pavement. Obviously, for occupancy, you need pavement, but to start construction, you don't.
I don't know if foundation only gets us our goal.
Yeah, so obviously where I'm headed here is safe harbor, right? And if a foundation permit works for safe harbor, and I meant to go back and review this because we just had it with Pine Street to some extent, but Dan, that's where I'm headed, right? We may want to have them get a permit sooner than F5 currently allows them to. Where I was headed was just some sort of language that basically gives the ZBA the authority to say you can have your permit. So,
So
Does
Does this
ZBA
work?
have that authority to issue a permit, a building permit?
no, we wouldn't issue the building permit. We would, so no building permit for, shall be issued until blah, 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 unless authorized by unless otherwise approved by the zoning board of appeals or something like that.
do you see what I drafted there, Bill?
Except where there's that, yeah. Who makes that decision?
Typically, it's the fire department where Bob could reach out to the fire department.
I had a call from the fire department. because they were doing construction at Prentice Place without the binder code, and they were bullshit. Because the permit had been issued with just ignoring that condition.
In Grafton?
Yeah, I think it's kind of out of our hands a little bit. I mean, I think if the fire department or Bob feels like there isn't adequate access, I think that's the main issue. That's why this is in here. So even if we want them to issue the permit, I don't think we can control that. It's really a state law issue.
Then F5 can go away. If that's really true, then F5 can go away.
What if we added the word there, adequate access and support for emergency vehicles? Because it's not just access. It's the base coat is required to support the weight of the big fire trucks coming in. But, I've never believed that a fire truck needs, the base coat. It could be, compacted gravel.
Dan, is a foundation permit sufficient to get us into safe harbor?
I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't want to tell you off the cuff tonight. It has in the past. I don't know if the rules have changed. I know we dealt with this in Pine Street, and I don't remember what DHCD said. It has. In the past, it has.
He can still issue the full permit too, but at times it's at your own peril. You can, if the plans aren't 100% done, if he felt comfortable with the foundation only, he could issue the foundation only.
Yep. And he has done that. He did that for Pine Street.
Yeah.
Right, but would that get us in a safe harbor? And that's
it did, because the issue there wasn't that we didn't have a foundation permit. The problem was that they didn't then have an occupancy permit within, 12 months, or there was too much of a gap. I think that was the issue.
Well, okay, so the reason I started down this path, if we need to put into this permit that they can't have a building permit until these things are, binder code, et cetera, then it seems to me that there actually is leeway there. That, if we didn't put that there, then he could issue a building permit, without, that binder code, et cetera.
I do like what Dan has there, quite honestly. Myself, anyways. That gives him a lot of latitude to issue stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
If you take this whole thing out, Bill, then you know what we were just talking about in terms of arbitrary conditions. That could be an issue here.
Yeah. I just don't want to be in a situation where, they're close, but they're not quite there yet. And we really could benefit if they had actually pulled a permit, but they can't because of this. That's the situation I want to avoid. I'm not talking about, issuing them a building permit,
Yep.
6 months or 8 months ahead of when they're really ready to go. But, I just would hate to be in a position where, geez, we missed it by a month. Because of this condition. That's my, so that's why I wanted to have us have some latitude, so that we as a town, we could recognize what's happening, go to Chad and say, hey, we'd like you to pull a permit now. Chad says, okay, if it helps you out, I'll do that. And the ZBA, then turns around and says, we approve of the building inspector issuing this permit now, even though the binder code, et cetera, isn't there. That's the flexibility. That's the option that I wanted to have at our disposal if we needed it. I just don't know how to say that.
His in yellow, we actually just did this a couple months ago on another town. We didn't have the binder in place. We were still doing the utilities. We got the water in it. We didn't binder it, but we got the foundation permit in, and we already started construction on the main building before there was binder. So it did save a couple months, and if that's work for you.
So
Another-
so at the very least, I want to leave this, because now it's kind of up to the development team in the building.
Yeah.
All right, to make the decision, so to speak. I just wanted to take it out of their hands entirely.
Because if it's not in there, that Bob is going to say you're not getting it.
Right.
No, we won't.
Yeah, I know that for a fact.
He didn't apprentice.
Well, he was supposed to.
Yeah, might have slipped by. But
Yeah.
he's pretty thorough most of the time.
So Dan, you're really against me putting something in there that says the board can.
That was for the second and third building, right?
I mean, I just don't think, if you can put whatever you want in, I just don't, I think Bob and the fire chief are the ultimate decision makers on this issue. And I don't, even if you said, go ahead and issue the building permit, Bob could still say no, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So if you took this condition out,
Probably
I think
last
to
year,
Chad's
just-
point, I think it's actually worse. I think having this emergency access provision, Bob might take us some guidance, and might issue the permit even without the binder in the base. I don't know.
Well, this does give him some leeway, and if it comes to it, the development team within town here can, they can meet and make a decision, or this is the right thing to do in this particular situation, and so he has the leeway. If that yellow language isn't there, he doesn't even have the leeway.
Nope.
Right.
So let's leave this in there. So we have that leeway if we need it.
Okay.
All right, that's the only thing I had. Anyone else? Matali, did you type anything into chat? I can't even see where the chat is around here. No? Okay.
I don't see anything now.
Well, there's a, all right. So I think at this point, what we want to do is, Dan, you've captured these changes in real time. Probably send one off to Amber again. She can print it. But I think at this point, I guess I need a motion to accept, to approve. What does this motion actually say? Help me out here, Dan. What is this motion actually saying?
You're voting to approve the draft decision dated November 28th as amended or modified this evening.
All right, so move to approve draft decision for
Case number 892.
do you have a case number?
892.
For case 892, 59 Pleasant Street, Properties, LLC. Move to approve draft decision for case 892, 59 Pleasant Street Properties, LLC, to allow construction of 104 apartment units yeah, let's just go with that. So a motion to approve draft decision, dated November 28th as amended for case 892 59 Pleasant Street Properties LLC to allow construction of 104 apartment units.
Why? Not to throw a wrench into this, but why draft decision? Isn't it the decision?
Final decision.
Yeah, actually, should it just be the decision dated February 20, no, November, let's say 29th?
30th.
30th?
Where's the date?
It was
There's no date on it.
in the,
There's no
it was
date
in the file
on it. I've been
name.
looking for
It
the
was-
date all night.
Go ahead, Dan.
The date was in the file name, that I emailed. It was dated November 28th.
Oh.
That's all. But we changed it tonight, so it will be dated today.
And is it final decision?
So why don't, how about approved decision dated November 30th?
Instead of draft.
You're voting to approve the draft that was dated November 28th as amended tonight. That's what you're voting on, and then you're going to sign the document. The document's going to be dated today.
All right, so draft decision dated November 28th. All right, so I need a motion to approve the draft decision dated November 28th for case 892, 59 Pleasant Street Property LLC to allow construction of 104 apartment units.
So moved.
Second.
So motion made and seconded. Now really quickly, I know Katrina sent it and I meant to capture this. Who's eligible to vote on this? I think it's,
I think we all are, because she's got it on this,
all right,
I think.
and, sorry, so it's the 5 sitting members. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
all right, so motion made and seconded, discussion. I think we've had enough, huh?
Yeah, we've had a
There must be something somebody wants to say. All right, then, on a roll call vote, we'll start with, Mr. Yeomans,
No.
Ms. Reed,
yes.
Mr. Waller,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. The motion carries by a vote by 4-1. When did you submit this?
We were
That's
just
probably right here.
we were just
Yeah.
actually talking
So,
about this. This has
February
actually been
27th.
a 2-year process, believe it or not. Yeah, we started Christmas of 21.
We were at technical review with
Yeah,
the
with-
town administrator.
Wow.
But this came into us February 27th, so that was
Yep.
7 months.
Yeah,
Am I right? Did I do that math right?
And it was the,
No, it's more than that.
No.
yeah, just because of the
9 months.
Yeah, that
it was
stay
because of
and
the,
all that other stuff.
whatchamacallit, that it took longer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Safe harbor.
Yeah.
I said it before, we had one 2.5 years in front of us, never mind preparation.
It still hasn't finished.
2.5 years.
Really? Ooh.
That was 20 years ago and it's not finished.
Oh boy.
No, that one did, Creeper Hill was 2.5, that was the
Oh.
longest. They got halfway through and all the conservation work was wrong.
Oh boy.
They had to start, the engineers had to start all over.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel kind of a need to say this, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying it, but, you know, there's people, particularly on the Affordable Housing Trust, who seem to want to develop an adversarial relationship with the ZBA and have criticized us and have said things like we are essentially an impediment to getting affordable housing built in town. There's some members have said things on social media that have even been stronger than that. But here we are 9 months later, even after dealing with a safe harbor issue, and we've got this approved. I mean, I don't know how people can consider this to be, the ZBA to be an impediment. You know, I think we did a really good job on this in a very contentious. I just sometimes wonder maybe the Affordable Housing Trust is trying to do a little bit of deflection because they haven't built any affordable housing. But regardless, 9 months, I think we did good. I think we did good.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that started even with the selectmen as well, and some of the concessions we made with the 50% and 60% AMI. So it's gonna help out some great families in town.
Absolutely.
We all know it's going wild out there for pricing, so
Yep.
that'll help some.
All right,
Agreed.
I'll turn the meeting back over to the chairman.
All right. So, with,
I think we
entertain a
have
move to
some cases-
adjourn?
No, I think we have some cases to schedule.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are all set.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
so much,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
See you next
See,
week.
see you next week.
See you on Thursday.
Oh, what are we calling you?
All right, good night, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
All right.
Amber, I'm going to email you the decision.
Can we sign that? Should we print it and sign
Oh,
it tonight?
Yeah, we
we
have to sign.
wanted to
3
sign that
copies.
tonight, so, yeah.
Or 2 copies.
Sign your clip.
Yeah. Christina, Katrina wants to sign.
All right, so we're
We do have another meeting next Thursday.
Yes.
For Upton
do?
Street.
That's right.
Now I can't vote on that anymore
Oh, you can't?
because I missed it 3 weeks ago 'cause I had my surgery. So now I'm out on that one.
Matali, Matali's out on that?
No, in.
Oh, you're in on Upton Street, right?
Yeah, I'm.
Okay,
Yeah,
But-
all right,
I mean, I can show up, but I can't vote.
yeah. And I need to sign my, call it a mulligan, it's something else, but I need to sign that form for the one I missed
Before the meeting.
before the, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize it had to been, I thought it was before you voted. Before the next meeting.
Yep.
All right, so December 7th, we have Upton Road or Street. I think we can look into January, like January 11th.
For the next cases we have?
There's 348 cases.
Oh,
So, is she giving us any dates or, you know January 11th is okay?
Yeah, she's out until January 6th.
Okay. I mean, January 11th is fine with me.
yeah, it works for me.
Does
I
that,
can't.
does that mean Amber's gonna get us all the information beforehand?
No,
mean
Katrina,
Katrina?
Will do it.
She gets back the 6th.
No, she 12/29 to the 6th, so she's out for a week.
Oh, she'll get
Just-
it way.
just over that
she'll
week
get
before.
it before she leaves.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
other words. Okay.
Matali, I didn't understand what you said. Can you just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the 11th? Thumbs down on the 11th.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Bill, you're good on the 11th?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do we know, can we go out to the 18th?
I think it's 65 days. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know the dates that they were submitted. I don't have the application.
And I'm not here the 18th.
Now let's just go for the 11th. I probably should go for the 11th.
I think we're gonna have.
But we pull it into the 4th.
Then
and
Katrina's not
Katrina's
here.
Which may work. You good on the 4th?
February?
No,
Oh,
January.
you mean January 4th? Yes.
I kind of cat.
Oh, shoot, yeah, I can try to move things for the 11th.
All right.
Let's go for the 11th.
Yeah. All right. So we'll schedule those 348 cases for the 11th.
No, I'm fine for the 11th. I'm just wondering, we have a set of rules for 40B cases, right?
Yeah.
Could we add a rule of 3,500 foot per unit? Why not? We could have a minimum, couldn't we?
You mean a minimum?
I'm not trying to. It won't affect any cases in front of us now.
Yeah, no,
future.
It would need to be a change to the zoning bylaw.
yeah, I think our rules were more process, not necessarily into things like that. I don't think we could,
Oh, we can't, oh, you don't think we can?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Amber, will you let us know when you've printed?
Yeah, I'm emailing Dan right now. He hasn't sent it to me, and he hopped off the Zoom.
Oh. You want me to? or-
I had his number.
Oh, I do, but it's on my work thing.
Brian, do you have Dan's number?
I think I do. I'm looking.
See, I lost a bunch of numbers. That drives me crazy.
Is January 11th our next meeting?
No,
For the 40A.
next week. This,
We're meeting next week, Bill, for, Upton Street.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had that.
and then January 11th.
Hey, Bill, any chance you've got Dan Hill's?
I have it.
Number, all right, you found it? Okay.
Excuse me?
No, we're all set.
Okay.
Oh, shit. That must be his office number. Bounce back.
Is Katrina? No, she's not in tomorrow, is she?
No, she's not. Do we know where she is tonight?
I don't know. Why she's not here? So Amber, nothing came in from Dan? No? Huh. Well, if we don't get it, we can just come back up and sign it after. Or does it have to be signed?
Yeah, I mean, it actually doesn't. It just needs one person's signature on it. So we just may have to wait.
Yeah. So should we just do that or what?
Suppose we're gonna have to. I can't, without, I'm not gonna be able to find Dan's number on my phone here.
Did he sign off or did we lose him?
I'd say he
I
signed
think he
off.
signed off. I think he sent it. He thinks he sent it. And
I texted Katrina.
Oh, I did too.
did you have his cell, Ryan?
It bounced back. It must have been his office number that I had.
Well, we should have everybody's cell numbers.
I know.
I think I just have yours and Katrina's. I don't have yours.
I definitely had Dan's at one point,
Yeah, I would think you.
but
would.
I
You
lost a
some
whole
stuff.
bunch of contacts, so
Oh,
and I have
that
no idea how
stinks.
or why. That's what drives me crazy.
Yeah.
If I lost my phone or something, I'd feel better. At least I know why it happened.
Whose number are you looking for? Dan's?
Dan Hill's cell.
Oh, it looks like Amber got a hold of somebody.
You're gonna have to give it, if you got it, you're gonna have to give it to a pigeon and fly it here, cause I don't think Dan wants everybody on TV land seeing it.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
He's sending it right now.
All right, it sounds like Amber got a hold of him.
You want me to send it to you, Bill?
We have it.
It sounds like Amber got it. Thank you, though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah, I
what's
just
your
called the office
cell
line.
number? Brian, what's your cell number?
I'll write it down.
Yeah, you can.
And shield it from the
Okay.
camera.
Well, I've got 3 in that's are possible. Here. 99662062 is it's coming up as like
It's that one.
that one. Okay, you're so funny. I love it. Create new contact. Okay. I'll delete the other ones.
It looks like it just came through.
Okay.
Okay, send me a text.
Okay.
That's why I have yours.
All right. Peter, I wonder if I have yours. I don't think I have yours either. Peter Adams. No.
Wait a minute.
just yell it out.
Oh, yeah, yell it out.
Everybody wants to know our cell numbers. After me being on this board 10 years.
Yeah, put yours on there too. I have these two.
It's gonna make exciting viewing for whoever ends up watching.
No
this.
kidding.
What, oh, tonight, right now?
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
yeah,
really
I know,
exciting
huh?
stuff.
Somebody got up, went to the refrigerator, came back, saw us in the same
Well, they're still
position.
sitting
Said, what
there.
the hell, what kind of meeting is this?
Do these guys get paid? Wow. Yeah.
All right, it should be printing in the building office.
Actually, if we've finished our agenda, we can adjourn. We don't have to be in meeting to sign that.
We don't?
No.
Oh,
We do it all the time. We come up and sign, right?
right, yeah. Yeah, but not four of us.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're not deliberating anything. We're just signing.
Right, yeah.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion made and second. Roll call vote. Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans?
Yes.
Ms. Bizwas?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. We're adjourned.